Good evening, curious listeners, and welcome to Wilhelm Presents Frightening Tales and Other Weird Stories. I am your host, Wilhelm. Each week I invite you to dim the lights and settle in as we explore a dark and unsettling tale of the paranormal. Stories conjured by authors from all around the world. If you dare to share a fiction of your own, submit one at frighteningtales.com. And should you find yourself still hungry, more than 120 episodes await you patiently in the dark. Today's tale is written by Michael Byrne, originally from Rochdale, Lancashire, and now based in London. He writes folklore and horror-infused fiction. His work has been featured in Scribble Magazine, Pseudopod Podcast, and Strange Days Zine. And he regularly contributes to folklore-themed zine Myth and Lore. His latest short story, written in the Lancashire dialect, earned the Best Fiction Award from the Edwin Waugh Society. He was also recently shortlisted for the V.S. Pritchett Short Story Award. Outside of writing, he explores the UK and beyond, delving into obscure folk customs and esoteric museums. You can find him online at king.of.terrors. Here now is his tale, The Honey Child.
Sleep, child. Let the silkworm seal tight your eyes and force you into slumber. Now, listen to my voice as I weave a tale that will make your mind slip into the unknown. My story is from many years ago, before you came screaming into the world, and before my chin grew whiskers. A time of snow and famine. A time when raising a child was a fragile task, and abandoning one a painful option. Much sadness would carry on the wind back then, when a mother's wailing could snuff out the largest bonfire, while her rage would embolden the most fragile of embers. In this perilous time, two souls lived, Ingrid and Bartaz. Blessed and cursed they were, with their son, Comea. He was not a handsome boy, and the world tormented him for it. Birds would chitter with laughter as his disjointed body wandered the forest, while dogs howled at his approach. Thus, sadness planted a seed in his heart that blossomed spiny flowers. And though his parents tried to love him, they knew that his visage stung their eyes. Even his smell they came to detest, its sweet earthy flavors resting in every corner of their abode. And the snow fell still, until food became a magical yet forbidden word to be said out loud, a thing as rare as brownie dust or a worm's egg. One day, as Ingrid was collecting firewood, she saw Bartaz leave the cabin with Comea by his side, wrapped up warm and hiding his face. The child pulled back in vain, leaving marks on the floor with his shoes. "I'm taking the boy for a walk in the woods," Bartaz said. And Ingrid challenged her husband not. Instead, she set about her chores with more vigor, while the noise of them evaporated into the ether. Even then, she continued her task until her hands blistered and her arms ached. It was this, she told herself, that caused the tears to stream down her face. That night, she made a stew of weeds and mushrooms, enough only for 2 people. When Bartars returned, they ate in silence before retreating to bed. And then the snow thawed. Suddenly, the ground unseasonably fertile, as if nature defied the couple for their actions. As soon, there would be more than enough food. Bartars could not hold his anguish. He wept from dawn until dusk, praying for forgiveness, for abandoning the boy and for considering him such a wretched creature since the moment of Comea's birth. Ingrid tried to close her mind to those lamentations and his frequent praying for their son's return. Such was the frequency of Bartaz's dirges that the sound became commonplace for Ingrid, like a blowing gale or the crash of rain on the rooftop. So she blocked it out, like all the other mundane noises of the world. Until, that is, one spring morning, when she awoke to the jarred sounds of his rapture. "It is a miracle," Bartaz rejoiced. "The Lord has heard our prayers and brought our boy back to us." Ingrid did not believe her husband, assuming madness had finally taken hold of him. But at the door of the cottage, she was confronted by a small child that bore the likeness of Comea, only different than before. All the misshapen parts of the young boy's body had been replaced. He was now devoid of imperfection. Golden locks drooped over a gentle, rosy-cheeked face with a perfect smile of white, straight teeth. "Mother," he called out, and embraced her tight like a strangling vine, and Ingrid froze. From that day on, Bartaz and Comea were never apart, spending the hours God gave them in talk, play, and laughter while Ingrid busied herself with household tasks, always in the distance, always with a watchful eye on their son. Only when Bartaz went out for the hunt or harvest did Comea leave his side, refusing to approach the forest boundary. He chose instead to stay with Ingrid. His behavior was impeccable since his return, polite and courteous. He never once caused irritation to his mother, but despite this, his presence kindled fear in her heart. Comea would sit in silence until spoken to and rejected all food and drink, except for honey, which he lapped up with gentle flicks of his tongue. And when Ingrid asked how he came to survive the forest and return in health so resplendent, the boy cocked his head. "Honey, mother, it does not spoil so. It kept me sweet. And wounds it heals like an enchanted salve, making me as I am now." His voice was hollow, as though it echoed from deep within his body, and Ingrid knew that this was not Comea. Ingrid tried to express her suspicions to Bartaz, but he was already drunk from merriment, dulling his senses to the superficial offering that Comea was. But she knew better, and her soul could not sup from the chalice that Comea offered. "It is fey trickery. They have fooled you into thinking this is our son." Bartaz thought for a moment. "So? They have brought him back better than before. I prefer this one." In bed, Ingrid lay roused and pensive. She found part of her agreed with her husband, much to her shame. On the surface, she enjoyed the beauty of the young boy that claimed to be Comea, but still she silently hoped for her imperfect child to return. If only she had understood before that she had loved Comea and would grieve his absence. She wanted to pretend that God was cruel, and though he could well be, she conceded to herself that it was her and Bartars who orchestrated their son's fate. The scarcity of food has been a convenient excuse to hang their intentions on. They had failed Comea. She understood this now. All that remained of him was the imposter. He, too, would have to go. Silent was the night that Ingrid crept to the child's room, finding nothing but a neat bed unused. Then a creak and a clatter of jars from downstairs shattered the quiet. Ingrid took to the stairs like a ghost and made her way to the kitchen. It was all in disarray, with jam and honey pots emptied and scattered about the room. The culprit sat atop the wooden table, swallowing the contents of the very last marmalade jar. "What are you?" Ingrid asked, in wonder and horror, but Comea just looked confused. "I am your son, Mother," the boy said, his golden locks all slick with syrup. "Out! Hob!" Ingrid cried, "or I'll recite the Lord's Prayer." The thing that was Comea only laughed before returning to its bounty. Bartars, woken by the ruckus, stumbled downstairs to appeal for silence, but was taken aback by what he saw. "Comea, my boy, you have eaten our year's provisions." "He is not Comea," Ingrid's shout caused Comea to giggle through his honey-glued mouth. Bartars approached Comea at a snail's pace. "Come now, child, to bed." But Comea dodged Bartars and leapt atop the cupboard whose contents he had poached. Ingrid had seen enough. She strode to the fireplace and grabbed the horseshoe that guarded the chimney before returning to face Comea. "Leave now, or you will taste this iron," Bartars protested, grabbing the shoe and throwing it to the ground. A clumsy ballet ensued between the pair as they both struggled to reach the horseshoe while Comea clapped and twittered at the sight. Ever closer they approached the cupboard that Comea perched on, lost in their skirmish until, by accident, the couple crashed into the cupboard, knocking Comea off his perch and making him fall head first onto the floor to land atop the dormant horseshoe. A short whimper came from Comea, and then silence. Ingrid and Bartars looked at each other, unsure of what would follow. Then came the sound of cracking from Comea, as if he were made of eggshell. Golden honey oozed from his head instead of blood, while a cacophony of high-pitched laughter erupted from the wound. Diminutive black paws began to emerge from the crack, followed by antennae and a proboscis that lapped at the honey as it birthed from the wound. One set of appendages became several, squeezing through a space too small to encompass them all, their orange and black bodies glistening in sugary dew. Their laughter continued until Comea's body was hollowed of all the invertebrates that had nested there. 101 bees were counted flying from the body, skimming the heads of Bartars and Ingrid. A more bulbous bee led the way, its laugh being the loudest and most human. Their giggling flew with them through the house and up into the chimney towards the forest beyond, where they made their escape. Ingrid and Bartars looked at the broken shell that had masqueraded as Comea moments ago. Bartars looked to his wife for support. She in turn began to scoop the honey that had leaked from Comea's body into the remaining unbroken jars. Once Bartars had composed himself, he began to do the same.
What's this? You don't yet sleep? But this is all the tale I have to tell. Unknown to me is the couple's fate beyond this. Though, close to the forest maw lies the remains of a cottage, gravid with moss and sorrow. So to rest, you sweet piglet, lest the night apiarist steal you away to the forest. For the bees still search for a new home. Thank you, loyal listeners, for venturing into the dark with me tonight. Return next week for another tale lurking just beyond the veil. If you enjoyed your journey with me, support my work. Like, subscribe, rate, or leave a comment where possible. Any of it helps. Most of all, share frightening tales and support the authors who dared to dream these machinations. Until next time, when a new tale creeps across the airwaves, listen closely if you're brave enough.